Before Hollywood ever knew her name, before red carpets and golden statues, there was a young girl from Lincoln, Nebraska, Hilary Swank, who believed that her dreams were bigger than the small trailer she grew up in. Her story is one of those rare journeys that doesn't just inspire. It transforms the way you see perseverance, struggle, and the human will to rise. Hilary was born into a family that had little but love. Her father, a traveling salesman, and her mother, a secretary, worked hard but often struggled to make ends meet. Hilary was an athlete first, excelling in swimming and gymnastics. But deep inside, she carried another passion, acting. It wasn't about fame or glamour for her. It was about expression, storytelling, and emotion, things she used to escape the harshness of her reality. When she was just 15, her parents divorced and life changed overnight. Her mother, Judy, saw the spark in her daughter's eyes, a spark too bright for a small town. So with barely any money, they packed their old car and drove to Los Angeles, chasing a dream that felt impossible. But LA didn't welcome them with flashing lights. For weeks, Hilary and her mother lived out of their car, parking in different spots every night, washing up in public bathrooms, and surviving on determination and hope. Most people would have given up then. But Hilary didn't. She'd audition during the day and sleep in the back seat at night. Her mother, sacrificing everything, told her, "You have to believe that you belong where you dream to be." Those words became Hilary's lifelong mantra. One day, after endless rejections, she landed a small role in the TV show Camp Wilder. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. From there, she took every small role she could find, learning, improving, and proving to herself that no dream was too big. Yet even as opportunities appeared, challenges never stopped. Hollywood had its stereotypes, its biases, and its gatekeepers. Hilary didn't fit the mold. She was too real, too raw, too authentic. But that was exactly what would one day make her unforgettable. Then came The Next Karate Kid, 1994. It gave her visibility but not success. She wasn't satisfied. She wanted a role that meant something. And that moment came when she auditioned for Boys Don't Cry, 1999. It was a role that required courage, empathy, and emotional vulnerability. All the things Hilary had in abundance. The film was raw, honest, and painful, and so was her performance. When the Oscars came around, Hilary's name was called for Best Actress. A girl who once slept in a car was now holding the most prestigious award in Hollywood. She was 25, but the true power of her story isn't in that win. It's in what she did after. Fame didn't spoil her. It fueled her. She continued to choose roles that scared her, emotionally, physically, mentally. She wanted to tell stories that mattered. In $1 Million Baby, 2004, she transformed herself into a boxer, training like an athlete, breaking bones, pushing through pain. The result? Her second Oscar for Best Actress. Only a handful of women in history had ever achieved that. Hilary Swank's journey is proof that greatness is born in the fire of struggle. She reminds us that the road to success is not about luck. It's about grit. She turned pain into purpose and rejection into rocket fuel. She didn't wait for doors to open. She broke them down. From living in a car to living her dream, from sleeping under the stars to shining among them. Hilary's life stands as a message to every person who feels unseen or underestimated. You can come from nothing and still become everything. After her first Oscar win for Boys Don't Cry, the world finally looked at Hilary Swank as a star. But behind that glittering golden statue was a woman still fighting to prove she belonged. Fame had opened doors, but it also came with expectations. People wanted her to stay inside the box they built for her. Hilary, however, was never meant to live inside anyone's box. Her story wasn't about pleasing the world. It was about staying true to herself, no matter the cost. After the Oscars, offers came pouring in. Glamorous roles, romantic comedies, and high-paying scripts. But Hilary turned many of them down. "I didn't come this far to just play it safe," she once said. She was looking for depth, not glitter. Truth, not applause. It was during this time that she found $1 Million Baby, a story that mirrored her own, a fighter from nowhere, chasing a dream the world said she couldn't have. When Clint Eastwood offered her the role, she didn't hesitate. She transformed her body through months of brutal boxing training, pushing herself past exhaustion, injury, and self-doubt. She gained muscle, trained 6 hours a day, and lived like a real fighter. But what she gained wasn't just physical strength. It was proof of how unstoppable the human spirit can be when driven by belief. The film became a masterpiece. Audiences cried, critics praised, and once again the Oscars called her name. A second win. 2 Academy Awards by the age of 30. For someone who once had to count pennies for gas, it was nothing short of miraculous. But Hilary's story didn't end at the peak, because even at the top she faced new battles: the loneliness of fame, the pressure to remain relevant, and the haunting truth that Hollywood can love you one moment and forget you the next. What kept her going was her purpose: to tell stories that mattered. She began to use her platform for advocacy, speaking about homelessness, women's empowerment, and resilience. She remembered the days she had no home, and instead of hiding that pain, she turned it into strength. Hilary once said, "The moments I thought were my lowest became the foundation for my greatest achievements." That's not just wisdom, that's survival. Her career wasn't always smooth. After her early success, she faced a series of flops, rejections, and disappearing offers. Hollywood's brutal truth is that it's rarely kind to women, especially those who refuse to play by its rules. But Hilary didn't crumble. Instead, she took time to find herself again. She explored producing, found new projects, and redefined success on her own terms. For her, success wasn't measured in awards or headlines. It was in living authentically. When she returned to the screen years later in roles like Conviction and The Homesman, she reminded the world why she was special. She wasn't chasing fame, she was chasing truth. Her performances were raw, real, and filled with the kind of emotion that only comes from a life truly lived. Outside of acting, Hilary became an example of humility and compassion. She cared deeply for animals, devoted time to her dogs, and spoke about empathy as her greatest strength. In interviews, she didn't talk about luxury or fame. She spoke about gratitude, about how every setback taught her something about resilience, kindness, and grace. Behind the awards and applause was still the same girl who slept in a car with her mom, who refused to give up when the world told her she wasn't enough. That fire never died, it only grew stronger. Hilary Swank's journey teaches one timeless truth: when your dreams are bigger than your fears, nothing can stop you. Even in moments when the world went quiet, she kept creating, believing that purpose never fades, it just transforms. Her legacy isn't just about 2 Oscars. It's about showing the world that success isn't where you come from. It's what you do with what you've been given. Every person who's ever felt invisible, unheard, or underestimated can look at Hilary Swank and say, "If she could, I can too." Because sometimes the world doesn't need another celebrity. It needs someone brave enough to be real. After the roaring applause of her second Oscar faded, Hilary Swank found herself at a strange crossroads. On one hand, she was living a dream few ever reach. On the other, she felt something missing, something deeper than recognition. Fame, she realized, could never fill the spaces left by personal loss, heartbreak, and years of sacrifice. The girl who once fought to be seen was now learning that sometimes the hardest battle is finding peace within yourself. Hollywood saw her as a symbol of strength, but few knew how much pain she carried behind that calm smile. Around this time, her personal life went through turbulence. Her long marriage to actor Chad Lowe ended in divorce. It wasn't scandalous or public. It was painful and quiet, a heartbreak that tested her spirit. For someone who had built her entire life on resilience, it was another mountain to climb, she later said in an interview. When you give your all to something and it ends, you feel like you've lost a part of yourself, but what you really find is who you are without it. Those words define Hilary Swank. She never stayed down for long. Each setback became a lesson, each loss a spark for renewal. Hilary took a step back from Hollywood, not because she lost relevance, but because she chose reflection over rush. She spent years away from the spotlight, caring for her father who was recovering from a serious illness. She put her career on hold, showing the world that real success isn't about staying on top. It's about knowing your priorities. She became his full-time caregiver, learning patience, gratitude, and the silent strength that comes from unconditional love. "It was the most humbling role of my life," she shared later. This period changed her. The woman who had fought her way into Hollywood now found her purpose beyond it. She learned to value the stillness, the simple joys, and the power of giving. Her break wasn't a retreat, it was a rebirth. When she eventually returned to acting, she did so not to chase fame, but to tell stories that touched hearts. She came back with films like What They Had and I Am Mother, both reflecting her maturity and emotional depth. Every performance now carried years of wisdom and empathy, the mark of someone who had lived through storms and still chose grace. Her fans noticed it too. They saw not just an actress, but a woman who represented courage in its purest form. Beyond the screen, Hilary began speaking openly about mental strength, persistence, and compassion. She launched her own clothing line, Mission Statement, a brand centered around purpose, empowerment, and ethical living. Unlike many celebrity brands focused on luxury, Hilary's was built on intention. Her message was simple. Your mission statement is your reason for being. Live by it. This wasn't just a slogan, it was her life philosophy. Everything Hilary did had a reason, a purpose. She never took shortcuts, never sought validation, and never compromised her values for popularity. That's what made her story timeless. It's not about winning. It's about becoming. She began using her influence to support underprivileged youth, animal welfare, and women's rights. The girl who once slept in a car was now helping others find shelter, not just physically but emotionally. She gave voice to the voiceless, reminding people that no matter how far you go, you must never forget where you came from. In interviews, she often recalls her mother's faith. She believed in me when I had nothing. That kind of love changes you forever. It was that bond that carried her through every storm. Even in the face of Hollywood's constant reinvention, Hilary stayed grounded, authentic, and human. Her journey is not just about breaking barriers, it's about redefining success itself. Because Hilary Swank's legacy isn't in trophies or fame, it's in the quiet moments. The strength to care for a loved one, the humility to start over, the courage to walk away from the noise and choose peace. In a world obsessed with speed, Hilary teaches us the beauty of patience. In a culture chasing perfection, she reminds us that imperfection is what makes us real. And in a society that measures success by applause, she shows that true fulfillment comes from purpose. From a girl living in a car to a woman who stood at the top of the world, fell and rose again, Hilary Swank embodies the kind of resilience that inspires generations. She didn't just act like a fighter. She lived like one. Her story isn't about luck, but about choice. The choice to believe, to persist, to love, and to rebuild. Because in the end, success isn't about the number of Oscars on your shelf. It's about the kind of person you become when the lights go out. And Hilary Swank, through every rise, fall, and rise again, became the very definition of grace under fire.